Have you ever felt a spark with someone? That moment when your eyes meet across a crowded room and it feels like the world slows down, like they were meant to be in your life, a connection that promises to end your loneliness forever. I've heard this story so many times from folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, when we've spent years searching for that one person who will make us feel whole, who will choose us, who will love us in a way that makes everything else fade away, hoping that they'll fulfill the spaces we've felt empty for so long. I've spent decades studying the teachings of Carl Jung, the brilliant mind behind analytical psychology, and I've learned a truth that can change everything. The most profound love story you'll ever experience isn't waiting in someone else's heart. It's the one you write with yourself. Because when you become your own soulmate first, the universe brings you relationships that don't drain you, but reflect the love you've learned to give yourself, especially as we age, when meaningful connections become more important than ever, when we crave relationships that feel deep, authentic, and lasting. In this video, we'll explore how loving yourself transforms your relationships, how it shifts your energy to attract the right people, how it helps you build bonds that are balanced and fulfilling, all through the lens of Jung's wisdom, a wisdom that reminds us that the love we seek begins within, not without. Let's start with the foundation. Self-love is the key to every relationship in your life because the love you receive from others is a mirror of the love you give yourself, a reflection of how you see your own worth. I've seen how we often look outside for validation, thinking that if someone chooses us, if they love us, we'll finally feel enough. We'll finally feel complete. But Jung taught us that what we don't make conscious will manifest in our lives as destiny. And if we're not aware of our own value, if we don't nurture our own hearts, we'll keep attracting relationships that reflect that lack. Relationships where we feel unseen, where we give too much and receive too little, where we settle for less because deep down, we don't believe we deserve more. We don't believe we're worthy of the kind of love that lifts us up, that honors who we are. When you start loving yourself, truly valuing who you are, your energy changes, your standards rise, and the universe responds, bringing people who match that love, who see your worth, who don't need convincing to stay, because you've already chosen yourself. And that choice, that deep self-love, becomes the foundation for relationships that are as fulfilling as they are free. Relationships that don't feel like a struggle, but a natural flow, a reflection of the love you've cultivated within. A love that says, I am enough, and I deserve nothing less than what matches my light. That love you hold within isn't just a source of inner peace, it's the starting point for every relationship you'll ever have. Because true love isn't something you need to find outside of yourself. It's already within you, waiting to be nurtured, waiting to be claimed, waiting to be the foundation for every connection you build. I've seen this truth unfold with so many folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, people who've spent years believing that love comes from someone else, that we need a partner to feel complete, that our happiness depends on being chosen, on being seen by another, hoping that if we find the right person, they'll fill the emptiness we've carried for so long. They'll make us feel whole at last. But Carl Jung taught us that this is an illusion, a belief that keeps us chasing something we already have. Because the love you're searching for, the love that makes you feel whole, isn't out there in someone else's heart. It's right here, within you, in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you honor your own worth, in the way you show up for yourself every day, in the quiet moments when you choose to be kind to yourself, to forgive yourself, to celebrate yourself, even when no one else is watching. I've found that when we stop looking outside for validation, when we stop believing we're incomplete without a partner, something shifts deep within us. We start to see that we've been carrying this love all along, a love that doesn't need to be earned, a love that doesn't need to be proven, a love that's been waiting for us to recognize it, to embrace it, to let it fill the spaces we've been trying to fill with someone else's affection, spaces that we thought could only be filled by another, but were always meant to be filled by ourselves. Jung believed that what we don't make conscious will manifest in our lives as destiny, and if we're not aware of the love we already hold within, we'll keep seeking it in places where it can't be found, in relationships that leave us feeling empty, in connections that don't reflect our worth, in patterns that repeat the same story of lack over and over again, patterns that leave us wondering why love always feels so hard, so out of reach. But when you turn inward, when you start nurturing the love you have for yourself, when you choose to be your own source of joy, of peace, of validation, you realize that you don't need to chase, you don't need to beg, because you are already enough. And that realization changes everything. It frees you from the need to seek. It allows you to simply be, to live from a place of fullness. And in that being, you create a space for love to flow naturally, a space where the right relationships can find you, not because you searched for them, but because you've become a magnet for the love you already embody, a love that radiates from within, a love that says, I am whole and I'm ready to share that wholeness with someone who sees it too. This inner love, this realization that true love lives within, shapes every connection you'll ever have, because the way others treat you is often a reflection of how you treat yourself, a mirror showing you what you believe you deserve, a mirror that reveals the unconscious beliefs you've been carrying about your own worth. I've seen this truth play out in so many lives, working with folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, where we've spent years wondering why we keep attracting the same kinds of relationships, the ones that leave us feeling unvalued, unseen, or stuck in a cycle of disappointment, always giving more than we receive, always feeling like we're not enough, no matter how hard we try. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And I've found that if we're not aware of how we speak to ourselves, how we value ourselves, we'll keep drawing in connections that mirror those unconscious beliefs, connections that reinforce our doubts, our fears, our feelings of not being enough, because deep down, we've allowed ourselves to believe that's all we're worthy of, that we don't deserve more, that we have to earn love by giving more than we receive, by sacrificing our own needs, by settling for less than what our hearts truly desire. I've seen how this works in so many lives. When we criticize ourselves harshly, when we ignore our own needs, when we tell ourselves we're not good enough, we often find ourselves in relationships where others do the same, where they overlook us, where they give us crumbs instead of the love we crave, where we feel invisible because deep down we've been treating ourselves that way. We've been ignoring our own voice, minimizing our own worth, accepting less than we deserve in our own hearts, and the universe reflects that back to us, showing us what we've come to believe about ourselves, even if we don't realize it. But when you start treating yourself with kindness, when you speak to yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend, when you honor your own worth by setting boundaries, by refusing to accept less, by choosing to see yourself as worthy of love, the mirror of your relationships begins to change. You start attracting people who reflect that love, that respect, that value, not because you've changed them, but because you've changed yourself, because you've shifted what you're willing to accept. You've raised your energy to match the love you know you deserve, a love that doesn't diminish you, but lifts you up, a love that sees you for who you truly are, a love that feels like a celebration, not a struggle. This isn't about blaming yourself for past relationships. It's about empowering yourself to create new ones, to look inward and ask, how am I treating myself? And how is that showing up in my life? Because the love you receive starts with the love you give yourself. And that reflection is the first step to transforming every connection you'll ever have. A step that invites you to see yourself with new eyes, to love yourself with a new depth, to become the kind of person who attracts the love you've always wanted. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. Elevating your energy through self-love doesn't just change who you attract. It also transforms how you show up in relationships. Because when you truly love yourself, you learn to love with freedom, not attachment. Letting go of the need to hold on and allowing love to flow naturally into your life. Drawing in connections that reflect the fullness you've cultivated within. Connections that feel as natural as they are deep. I've seen this transformation in so many folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. People who've spent years chasing love, holding on tightly to relationships out of fear, thinking that if they let go, they'll lose everything, that if they don't fight for it, it'll slip away. But Carl Jung taught us that what we resist persists. And I've found that the more we cling to love, the more it slips away. Because clinging comes from a place of lack, a fear of not being enough, a belief that we need someone else to stay in order to feel complete, to feel worthy, to feel loved, a belief that keeps us trapped in a cycle of desperation, always trying to prove our worth, always trying to make someone stay, even when they're not meant for us. When you become your own soulmate first, when you fill your own heart with love, when you choose to be your own source of joy, of peace, of validation, you realize that you don't need to hold on, you don't need to chase, because real love isn't something you force. It's something that comes to you when you're ready, when your energy is aligned with abundance, not scarcity, when you've stopped seeking to fill a void and started living from a place of fullness. I've seen how this freedom in love changes everything. It's a freedom that says, I love you, but I don't need you to complete me. A freedom that allows you to be fully present in a relationship without losing yourself, to give without expecting anything in return, to let the other person be who they are without trying to control them, without trying to mold them into someone they're not, because you're not loving from a place of need, you're loving from a place of wholeness. And that wholeness creates a space where love can flow naturally, without pressure, without fear, without the constant worry of whether they'll stay or go. A space where love feels like a gentle stream, not a raging storm. This isn't about being distant or indifferent. It's about trusting that what's meant for you will find you, that the right love will come when you're not desperately seeking it, when you're not trying to make something work with the wrong person, when you've let go of the need to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. And that choice, that freedom, becomes a magnet for relationships that are as genuine as they are effortless. Relationships that feel like a natural flow, not a struggle, because you've learned to let go and let love come to you in its own time, in its own way, reflecting the love you've already found within. A love that's as free as it is deep, as steady as it is liberating. Loving with freedom allows you to let go and let love flow naturally into your life, creating space for connections that feel effortless and true. But this freedom also opens the door to a deeper way of relating, one that can transform how you experience love. Building conscious relationships where love isn't a struggle, but a balance, a partnership that nurtures growth for both people, a partnership that feels like a safe haven, not a battlefield. I've seen this shift in so many folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. People who've spent years in relationships that felt like a constant battle, where they had to prove their worth, where they gave until they were exhausted, where they lost themselves trying to make things work, always feeling like they had to fight to be seen, to be loved, to be enough. But Carl Jung taught us that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and call it fate. And I found that if we're not aware of our own patterns, if we haven't healed the wounds that drive us to seek love from a place of lack, we'll keep repeating the same cycles, attracting relationships that drain us, that leave us feeling unfulfilled, that make us question our own worth, because we haven't learned how to love from a place of balance, from a place of self-awareness, from a place of inner peace. A conscious relationship isn't about sacrifice. It's not about giving up who you are to keep someone else. It's not about losing yourself in the process of loving someone. It's about two people coming together from a place of wholeness, each already complete on their own, choosing to share their lives because it feels right, not because they need each other to feel whole, not because they're trying to fill a void, but because they want to grow together, to support each other, to create something beautiful that reflects the love they've each found within themselves. I've seen how this kind of love feels different. It's light, it's easy, it's a space where you can be fully yourself without fear, where you don't have to change to be accepted, where you don't have to fight to be seen, because both people are committed to showing up with honesty, with respect, with a mutual desire to grow together, not apart, a desire to build something that feels like a partnership, not a dependency, a space where both can thrive, where both can be their truest selves. This balance comes from self-awareness, from knowing what you want, what you need, and what you're willing to accept, from understanding your own worth so deeply that you don't settle for less, and it comes from emotional independence, from understanding that your happiness doesn't depend on the other person, but on the love you've already cultivated within yourself, so you can give without losing yourself. You can love without clinging. You can build a relationship that feels like a celebration of two whole hearts, a relationship that's as nurturing as it is free, as steady as it is inspiring. Building conscious relationships rooted in balance shows us the power of loving from a place of wholeness. But there's a final truth that ties this journey together, a truth that can transform not just your relationships, but your entire life. The love you give yourself is the love that returns to you. And when you truly love yourself, you become a magnet for the kind of love you've always deserved, a love that reflects your own inner light, a love that feels like a natural extension of the peace you've cultivated within. I've seen this unfold in so many lives, working with folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. People who've spent years feeling like love was a struggle, like they had to fight for it, chase it, or settle for less than what their hearts truly desired, always feeling like they were giving more than they received, always wondering why love felt so hard, so out of reach, so fleeting. Carl Jung taught us that what we project into the world comes back to us. And I've found that if you give love from a place of lack, from fear, from a need to be chosen, you'll often attract relationships that mirror that emptiness. Relationships where you feel unvalued, where you're always trying to prove your worth, where you feel like you're never enough, because deep down you haven't yet learned to value yourself, to see your own worth, to fill your own heart with the love you seek, the love you've been searching for in others, the love you thought you could only find outside of yourself. But when you start loving yourself fully, when you speak to yourself with kindness, when you honor your own needs, when you choose to live from abundance rather than scarcity, your energy becomes a beacon. It radiates a warmth, a confidence, a fullness that draws in people who resonate with that same energy. People who don't need to be convinced of your worth because they feel it. They see it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you light up a room without even trying. They're inspired by it. And that's the kind of love that transforms, a love that flows naturally, a love that doesn't feel like a battle, but a beautiful dance between two hearts that are already whole, a dance that feels like a celebration of the love you've each found within. I've seen how this journey of self-love doesn't just change your relationships, it changes your entire life. It frees you from the patterns that kept you stuck, from the cycle of chasing love that never felt right, from the pain of settling for less than you deserve. It empowers you to let go of what doesn't serve you, to walk away from connections that don't honor your worth. And it opens the door to relationships that are as deep as they are meaningful, relationships that reflect the love you've cultivated within, a love that says, I am enough, and I deserve nothing less than what matches my light, a love that feels like a gift, not a burden, a love that grows from the foundation you've built within yourself, a foundation so strong, so steady, that it can hold the kind of love you've always dreamed of. A love that's as real as it is radiant. So let's bring this journey together, reflecting on what it means to become your own soulmate first, and how it can transform every part of your life, from the way you see yourself to the relationships you build. Because when you love yourself, you create a ripple effect that touches everything around you, drawing in the love you've always deserved. I've spent years helping folks in their 50s, 60s, and beyond uncover the power of self-love, and I've seen how these truths, inspired by Carl Jung's wisdom, can change the way you experience love, the way you experience yourself, the way you experience the world. We've explored how self-love is the foundation for every relationship because it shapes the way others see you, reflecting the love you give yourself, how true love lives with you, waiting for you to embrace it, to stop seeking it outside and start nurturing it inside. How your relationships mirror the way you treat yourself, showing you what you believe you deserve, inviting you to look inward and change the reflection by changing how you love yourself. We've seen how elevating your energy through self-love attracts love from a place of wholeness, not lack, drawing in people who resonate with your light. How loving with freedom lets go of attachment, allowing love to flow naturally. How conscious relationships are built on balance, not sacrifice, creating partnerships that nurture growth, and how the love you give yourself is the love that returns to you, a love that transforms your life when you become your own source of joy, of peace, of worth. I invite you to reflect. Where can you love yourself a little more today? Maybe it's in the way you speak to yourself, choosing words of kindness instead of criticism. Maybe it's in the boundaries you set, refusing to accept less than you deserve. Maybe it's in the way you show up in your relationships, loving from a place of freedom, not fear. Because every step you take toward loving yourself is a step toward attracting the love you've always wanted. A love that doesn't diminish you, but lifts you up. A love that feels like a celebration of who you are. A love that mirrors the light you've cultivated within. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this journey resonates with you, because this channel isn't just about wisdom, it's about connecting, about growing together, about reminding each other of the love we already hold within, a love that's been there all along, waiting for us to claim it. If this video touched you, if it reminded you of the power of loving yourself first, please give it a like, subscribe to Ageless Philosophies, and share it with someone who inspires you to be your truest self, someone who reminds you of the beauty of becoming your own soulmate first. Here's to a life where you love yourself so deeply that the universe can't help but reflect that love back to you in relationships that are as beautiful, as balanced, as you've always dreamed they could be. A life where you shine so brightly, where your love radiates so fully, that the world can't help but be drawn to your light. A light that starts with you, a light that never dims, a light that reminds us all of the power of loving ourselves first.